Lately, there's been a lot of buzz about breastfeeding in the media, especially regarding the government's involvement in promoting exclusive breastfeeding for the first year of a baby's life. But the emphasis still seems to be on vilifying formula rather than providing real help for the women who actually want to nurse. I asked women what they thought the government could do to make breastfeeding a more accessible and enjoyable experience.
I think to extend maternity leave, like they have in Europe, I think would raise the rates, because you need that time and to have a cutoff period. It doesn't alleviate, any stress. It doesn't, if anything, it adds, that you have to get everything done within a certain amount of time. And in terms of maternity leave. Yeah. So I think that if they were to extend it, then I think maybe the rates would go up.
Cultures where breastfeeding is their primary source of nutrition for newborns, they have generations of family members that can help them or see how it's done. So that's kind of their around. And I think our culture, American culture, isn't like that. And so you really have to seek out, support groups and things like that.
But I do agree about having better lactation support, because even the lactation consultants in the hospital, even though they were nice and supportive, there came a point where they ran out of advice for me.
Yeah.
Do this, do this, do this. I've done that. Keep plugging away. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that would have been, I was lucky and it worked out for me, but that would have been more helpful. Maybe I wouldn't have struggled so much. Maybe I wouldn't have worried so much if they had said, try this or do that. So.
Or had a personal consultant with you right from the start.
Yeah.
I think if the government is really truly interested in making it more feasible for women to breastfeed, they should make the help more accessible. And lactation consultants make a lot of money. It's like $110 an hour to visit with one or have one come out to your house for private instruction. So maybe they need to make more classes available at public hospitals. Maybe they need to have clinics. Maybe they need to give vouchers in the hospital.
I think I noticed that what the government does, or in any organization that is trying to be very pro breastfeeding and really trying to encourage, discourages formula a little too much. So it makes them feel like they don't have any options, that formula is not an option. They have to breastfeed, and that is the only thing that they should be doing and they need to be doing, or your kid's going to be fat or not as smart. And I just, they just can get a little bit more education maybe on both sides, give the full truth about breastfeeding, the good, the bad, the ugly, because it's not a picnic for everybody. It really isn't,
So ultimately, what happens to the woman who wanted to breastfeed but couldn't? Is she condemned to a life of guilt, regret, and worry for her child's welfare? Or is there a strength that comes out of living through these challenges and coming to the realization that while breastfeeding is certainly a wonderful thing to do for your baby, it doesn't define you as a mother? Could it be that in some situations, breast isn't always best for either mother, baby, or both? And will we ever reach a point where admitting this as possible doesn't undermine the noble efforts of the breastfeeding advocates?
I don't think you can argue with the science that breast milk is probably nutritionally the best that you can give your baby. I just don't think that formula could duplicate what a mother's milk can do. You're made to do it. All mammals are made to do it, so obviously it has to be the right thing. But I don't think you should be made to feel badly if you can't do it, or if you choose not to do it. There are people that just say, hey, it's not for me. My mother was one of those people. I was a formula-fed baby, and she just said, no, thank you. And there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think.
I still think Henry has quite a shot to grow up and be a fine young man, despite being formula-fed. I don't know,
Because he's formula-fed, Henry has a shot to grow up to be a fine young man.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he might not have a chance to grow up.
She would have been miserable if I kept her on breast milk. She would have been crying and just unhappy, and formula worked. It made her happy, it calmed her insides. She was, she wasn't in pain anymore. And I don't know why anyone would think that I would have to put my child through that just because society says that breast is better for baby. In my case, it wasn't.
Every mother has to make that decision for themselves, depending on their situation. And I think it's, you have to educate yourself too and try to see what your different options are. But I think in terms of your relationship and your bonding with your child, it's going to happen regardless, and you don't need to have to breastfeed to do that.
I don't think the government has any right to tell you. I don't think your friends should tell you anything. I don't think your spouse should pressure you. I think it's a really personal, individual decision that generally involves you and your baby. And ultimately, your baby's health and happiness is dependent upon the mother's health and happiness.
I just don't think that what you feed your child defines how good of a mother that you are. And the fact that I listened to my child's cues and what her body was telling me that she could and could not handle is what makes me a good mom. And not because I did not feed her breast milk for the first year or 6 months or whatever it is that they deem acceptable in their eyes.
Feeding formula for him has only meant survival. It has meant nothing else to him, medically or psychologically.
I kind of subscribe to the like know better, do better sort of theory. So if you know that you can't breastfeed, then of course, what are your options? Like, what are you supposed to do? I mean, it's not brainwashing to give people options, I don't think.
My feelings towards breastfeeding are, they're positive, and I think that that's a great thing if it works out for the family and if that's what they want to do.
Breastfeeding was really hard for me, and I don't feel like I'm any more connected to my daughter than anyone else is. I don't think that that's the reason that, she loves me. In fact, it was a stress on our relationship many times. And I think that formula feeding is a very good option, and I think that sometimes it's necessary, and sometimes it's just what's best for that family, and that's fine.
It's no one's business, really. It's you and your child, and whatever is best for you two, and everyone else should just kind of mind their own business.
I know that there's this huge rush to want to do the best thing for your baby, but sometimes the best thing for your baby is what's best for you. And if that's formula feeding your baby, then that's what you do.
I have a happy, healthy, thriving child. She's a preemie child who is thriving, and she caught up to her adjusted age, her actual age, before 2 years old, which is when they normally do. My pediatrician deems her caught up about 14, 15 months old. So obviously formula did something right, and she's thriving. She is meeting her milestones. She's just thriving, and that's really all that matters, is that they're thriving. That's it. They're happy. She's healthy. She's good. She's happy.
What I've learned from interviewing these moms, from the thousands who have contacted me through my blog, and from my own parenting experiences, is that there is no perfect formula for nourishing our babies. Just as we should support and applaud women who breastfeed, I believe we should equally respect and support those who need or choose to use formula. We are all simply doing what we know is truly the best choice for our individual situations. Parenting is tough enough on so many fronts, as it is inherently full of second-guessing laced with guilt. It's long overdue that we stop pressuring and judging each other and start supporting all parents as we make the tough and ultimately personal decisions about how to feed our infants. Our methods and choices may be different, but we have one thing in common. We all want to do what's best for our families and children. I'm Suzanne, and I am a formula feeder.